How fun. Oh, hey. So just, oh gosh. I'm under pressure. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I rhinestoned this Seattle Kraken jersey. The fact that I have to send this out and part ways with it is devastating, honestly. I am literally beyond words. I cannot believe how good this came out. The teal blue iridescent stones on this jersey are probably some of my favorite rhinestones I've ever used, and because that's like the main color, I basically got to bathe in them. I could talk about this jersey for literal hours, but I won't do that to y'all. Let's get into the video. As you can see, I have done half of the logo and it is looking so beautiful so far. I'm going to show you how I'm going to tackle this side of it. I'm going to show you how I rhinestone with a bunch of different colors and different sizes, how I deal with curved shapes, and overall just how I fill things in generally. These are my light cyan SS16 stones. These are in SS10. And then if I need the smaller SS3 stones, I will just reach for them in here. And then I have my E6000. I've used quite a bit of it already, so I folded it down like toothpaste, but I'm going to show you how I lay my glue down. If you get a new tube of glue, just kind of pinch it right here. You can see kind of where I put that indent because it'll push the glue back so that it's not pouring straight out initially. Just kind of swirl the glue and like hover over the area and spread it as you go. And I'm gonna take a crystal picker and I'm gonna fill in the small space first. And then in this little spot right here, an SS16 stone would be too big, so I just take an SS10 and fill that right in. There's a little bit of space that the SS16 stone does not fill right in between these two stones. So I'm gonna take an SS3 rhinestone and just kind of place that right in there, kind of squish it in. And then from there, I can kind of honeycomb the rest of the way. So this half is as full as it possibly can be while keeping it clean and not like super overcrowded. I'm just kind of lightly applying pressure to get a little bit extra to dispense as I put it down, using the tip of the glue to kind of move it around as I go. And then just continuing that outline, and then I'm gonna use an SS3 stone to do this little corner. And then with what I have left over, I'm just gonna put the stones where I see fit, filling in the really tiny spaces with the SS3 stones, and then filling in the larger spaces with the SS16. So now this red shape is all filled in, if you can see that. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the two blues before I do the navy blue, and I'll do a super close-up as to how I lay those down. But I'm gonna do those first before the navy blue, and I'll explain why in a second. I'm gonna do the teal part first. I'm gonna use SS16, SS10, SS3, and SS6. The more sizes, the better, but if I were to recommend any of them, it would be 3, 10, and 16. Going in with that E6000, I'm just gonna hover it above the area I wanna cover. And as I go, applying slight pressure to get a little bit more out of there. This row all the way in the back is SS16, and I want to keep it that way so that the navy blue can line up with it. So I'm just going to lay that row down. And then I'm just going to honeycomb this all the way back to where it meets on this side. So right in this area, an SS16 stone would not fit there. I'm going to take the SS10 stone and then maybe like an SS6 and then the SS3 just to fill in that little gap. You can really work from whichever way you want to. It's totally up to you. It just, you know, this shape is a little bit awkward. Not all of the sizes are the same, but with the edge being all SS16, it makes it look a lot more uniform. And now that we're getting to this curve and how it kind of starts to open up the spaces in between the stones, there's a teeny awkward space right in here. I'm just gonna use SS3 stones to fill that in. And then just to fill in that tiny spot right there, put an SS6. Moving on to the pale blue stones. And with this color, I don't have very many sizes. I have SS16, SS6, and then SS8 right in here. Still a small size, a medium size, and a big size. Just hovering over, applying a little bit of pressure to get the glue to dispense, and then getting it right up to those rhinestones. And you can tell that it's saturated based on the difference of color that it makes. Same scenario, I'm just gonna fill in this edge with SS16. And since this edge is just a little bit like wavy and kind of like funky, not every single stone is gonna be SS16, but that's totally fine. And because of the shape, I kind of just place them where they would fit best. And there is that space all filled in. Now I'm gonna show you how I fill in this navy blue space as well as this navy blue space. For the navy, I have SS16. There's some green scattered in there, don't mind that. I have SS8 and I have SS10. I get a lot of questions whether or not you can use hot fix stones with glue, and you absolutely can. You just can't use regular flat back stones like these ones with a heat press because I don't know what would happen, but I don't think it would be good. The only difference between hot fix stones and not hot fix stones is that this can be used under a heat press and this can't. But they both can be glued down. And the reason why I'm using hot fix stones is because I can't find these like deep navy stones in just regular flat back stones. I'm gonna do this area first actually. So again, super slow, dispense, doesn't pour out. And then with the areas that I couldn't get with the tip of the glue, I just use my crystal picker to get right in there. Since this row of rhinestones is all SS16, it'll be really easy to just honeycomb the navy blue stones right into that pattern. The navy blue stones are kind of difficult to see, so hopefully it made sense when I was doing the other blues. I'm just honeycombing until I can't anymore. Since this curve is coming in a little bit tighter, it's gonna start to close off a little bit and make the spaces a lot smaller. Even though I've been honeycombing just all the way through, this little spot right here is not gonna fit SS16, so I'm just gonna place an SS10 there. So that's one little area done. All right, now let's do this little area. Hopefully you can see a little bit better. I just filled in all of the glue here. Since this row is all SS16, I'm just gonna honeycomb the row underneath it. I'm just placing a stone right in between where these two stones meet, except in the next row over. Like little windows kind of. And just like that, it is all filled in. And now I'm gonna show you how to do the numbers. I'm gonna show you how to do this number 2. I'm gonna start over here and then work all the way up the number. I'll mostly be working with SS16 and SS10 stones for this part. I'm just gonna kind of move in circles, applying slight pressure to make sure the glue dispenses as I move. I'm gonna start with SS16 just because it's easier that way, and I'm gonna move all the way down. And then once I get to this edge, there's a teeny tiny space left right here. I'm just gonna use an SS10 stone to fill in that little spot. And then I'm gonna work from the bottom back up this way. And now that I've made it back up to the top here, there's another little section that I can't fill in with an SS16 stone. So I'm gonna take an SS10 and kind of just tuck it right in there. And then I'm gonna work my way back down the opposite way. So I kind of just go like down and then back up and then down and up and just in a continuous loop pretty much. We've made it to this smaller section, so I'm just gonna continue honeycombing all of these stones. And then up here there's an SS10 stone, and then down here there's an SS10 stone. So I'm just gonna probably end up doing an SS16 and SS16. And then this next row is an SS10 stone at the top and then one at the bottom and then just a full row of SS16 in the middle. There's just a sort of rhythm and you just kind of keep repeating it. This next part might be a little bit more tricky because I have to line up a row of stones right here so that it continues along the edge of the number. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put the glue down and then I'm just gonna continue it up a little bit so that we can kind of start the next full section here. This might almost be perfect. I'm just gonna kind of adjust the stones around it as I go. I'm just gonna continue this row of stones up the side of the number. And I'm just approaching this last little section. I think I could probably fit 2 rows of SS16, but we will see. I was right and that worked out perfectly. And now I'm gonna continue all the way up this number. And then once I get to the curve and the diagonal, I will meet you guys back there. Now that I've approached this curve and also this diagonal, make sure that you have your smaller stones on hand because you're gonna be using them a lot here. I'm gonna start with a small section first because I'm gonna have to use a bunch of stones and I don't wanna have the glue dry on me. So at this point, another SS16 stone would not fit here. So I'm just gonna start with like an SS10 maybe, and then fill the next little part in with an SS6. And then I'm gonna go to the next row, fill that in as best I can with the SS16. And then I'm gonna use an SS10 stone here, a little SS3 right there, and kind of just fill in where I see fit. And there is that one little part done. And then I kind of just keep working until I fill in this entire space. Now that this row is getting quite long, I'm gonna do this little section to cut it in half. And again, like you can do row by row, you can do section by section, it is totally up to you. The way that I do it might not be your preferred way of doing it, and that is totally fine. And then because we are still following a curve, there's gonna be some empty spaces, like right in this section, if you can see there. And I'll tackle that in just a second. I'm gonna finish off this little section right here. The most important thing to me, especially in this diagonal area, is to keep the lines as straight as possible and as clean as possible. So essentially, I'm probably just gonna fill in this little section with like an SS10, maybe an SS6, and then just keep going vertical. And then I'm just gonna kind of continue this curved method along this curve on this side and then the 2 curves on top. So I have done a little bit of the border as you can see here, and I'm just gonna show you guys how I did it. These pale blue rhinestones are SS16, and then I also have SS8 here. I have a little mix in there, don't mind that. I'm gonna do 2 rows of honeycombed SS16 and then 1 row of the SS8. Same method, just applying slight pressure to get the glue out and making sure that the glue is really up against this edge because the SS8 kind of hangs over. Even though this entire row is not bordering SS16, most of it up here was, so it just kind of makes everything line up a lot nicer. Once I get down here, all of this is SS16 as well, and I can just honeycomb it all the way down. So like I was saying, I can just fill all of these stones in one by one, continue the pattern. The rhythm is just another repetitive line. Super simple, super straightforward. Every single rhinestone has a place. And then just continuing that row of SS8 rhinestones all the way down. I've already done the last name, but I kind of wanted to walk you through what I did. For the letter D, I did 3 rows of SS16 and then 1 row of SS6. I always like to use SS16 until I can't anymore. And then I use my smaller stones to fill in whatever I couldn't with the SS16. And then on the U, it's the same thing. 3 rows, the 1 row, 3 rows, the 1 row. In these thinner areas on the ends, I kind of just filled in whatever I thought would fit best. There are lots of ways to fill in letters. It is totally up to you how you want to do it. This way though, I just find it is the easiest and the cleanest and the most efficient. With the Adidas logo, it was kind of tricky because the smallest size I have in this navy blue is SS8. I made it work though. I had to kind of put these at an angle in between the letters, but crisis averted, we got it all figured out. On the smaller numbers, I basically just repeated what I did on the bigger numbers, and I worked vertically all the way through, and then the outline is just a row of SS16 and then SS8. This is basically just a smaller version of exactly what I did earlier in the video. And then the last thing are the anchors. This again was kind of just like put rhinestones where you think they fit the best. I used literally every size of rhinestone that I had in every color. The majority of this outline is SS10 and SS8, but there were some places where I was able to fit in SS16, like on the little ends of the anchor. I just did my best to fill in the space and it looks so beautiful. I literally cannot stop looking at that jersey. Look at her. It's so pretty. I slayed. Sorry. That is it for this video. I hope I was able to cover a lot of your questions. Again, like I said, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to email me, DM me on any of my socials, comment down below. More than anything, I would love to get more people into rhinestoning, so please let me know how I can help. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.